God offers us a fresh start, a chance to renew our mindset. Our guest today couldn't change the tough times he was going through, but he did ultimately choose how he was going to respond, and that has made all the difference. Let's meet Joshua Nichelson. So Josh, you experienced some changes a few years ago that made some big changes in your life. Could you share with that?
Yeah, so it was several years ago. It started in June of 2016 when I lost my dad to an alcohol problem. He wrecked a four-wheeler, and alcohol is a really bad problem in my dad's side of the family. And even then, it didn't really affect me too much. I still drank a lot, but according to society, I still functioned properly. I still went to work and everything. But a few years later, after I experienced the loss of my mom, who was pretty much my best friend in life, I lost her in January of 2018. And my life was in like a downward spiral. And shortly after that, 3 months to the day exactly, I lost my stepdad, who was a dad to me, who I loved. So I didn't know where my life was going. I loved God, but I didn't trust him yet. And so that whole year went by. I was dealing with losses. And January the following year in 2019, my wife at the time, his mom, had left us. And at that time, I was out of control. I didn't want to live anymore. I thought life would be better off without me. Okay. But through those losses, that's when I got in touch with, at first, my pastor. And he just kept telling me, he's like, you got to pray about it. You got to pray about it. And it wasn't working at first. And finally, all of a sudden, I started to, the more I talked to God, the more I trusted him, the more he revealed things to me. And that's when it led to me giving up drinking, and he also brought the light that my life now, I had to live for him, for my son. And ever since then, that's what my life has been about, is living and being here for him.
Right, very good. So that's quite a transformation, in that time, and through the power of your faith to be able to do that. Were you going to a certain church? How did your pastor talk a little bit about that?
I grew up as a United Methodist. Church was not something my family was big into, but we live right down the road from a Methodist church in Juniata, and I would walk up to go to Sunday school every Sunday. So I developed the love for God on my own, but I became disconnected throughout my teenage years, many kids do. And I think I was around 22 or so. It was somewhere around like the year 2013, I believe. And I got an invite from a friend to go to Grace Baptist Church. I didn't know anybody there other than him. I didn't even know the pastor at the time. So we went, and me and my mom went, actually. And it was in September 2014 that we gave our hearts to the Lord. But many years after that, I still wasn't living for Jesus. And he has a way of letting you know when you're not. And even like sometimes you might think he's taking stuff away from you, but he's not. And what gets taken out of your life gets replaced with something a whole lot better.
You may not understand it at the time,
Yes.
but later you do. And then
Yes.
it comes back to trust,
Yes.
trusting in him. Yes.
And that's what faith is all about.
Right, absolutely. So that is amazing that you were able to go from the place, the dark place that you were in your life, the lowest that you probably have ever been.
That was the absolute lowest I've ever been.
To the best, perhaps, you've ever been.
Yep.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What a walk. What a walk. That is remarkable. You also had a transformation of your health. So where were you in your health journey back in 2016 and such?
So, as pretty much any 20-year-old, anybody in their 20s thinks they're invincible and their health kind of keeps up no matter what you do. As long as you don't have any problems in your 20s, you're fine. It's when you get into your 30s, that's when your body starts telling you, hey, you need to start maintaining it. So I'm a crane operator and a CDL driver by trade, so I have to go through a DOT physical at least every 2 years. That's the max you can get. And I was fine. Several years went by, and then finally I was faced with high blood pressure. And I was told, hey, you need to go see a doctor, maybe get on medication for this and that. Now, growing up with my dad, our family is very natural. Like, we believe in natural medicine, not modern medicine, prescriptions and all that. So I was told, hey, you want to try to do this on your own, or do you just want to take a pill? I was like, well, I'm not taking a pill. So I started just your typical working out, eating correctly.
What was your weight at that time?
So it's been about 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years. I was 280 pounds, headed for 300. I was active, what I considered active. I mean, I was always on the go. But I didn't eat right. I drank a lot. And every person's body is different, and how, like, some people can not be active at all, but they're skinny. And then there's other people like me that you have to go the extra steps in order to stay healthy. So I wanted to do that on my own, and I started doing the typical thing, dieting and going to the gym and stuff like that, lifting weights, and it wasn't working for me. Like, I was losing a little bit of weight, but I wasn't losing what I wanted to. So at the time, my son and I lived in Clarksville, and we had a neighbor who was probably 10 years younger than me, and he ran track in high school. I used to watch him run around our loop, and I was like, that looks pretty cool. I want to do that. So I started, and at the time, my mile pace was 17 minutes or so. I knew nothing about running. I thought running was how fast you can get from point A to point B. It's not that at all. So I just kept working on it, building up to it.
Did he train you? Did he show you the ropes?
No, he
okay.
never showed me anything.
He just inspired you.
Yes.
Okay.
I went through internet research and stuff like that, and finally started to learn how to do it. I just kept improving. I went through the typical pain that anybody that's in any kind of sport or activity goes through. Your body's adjusting to it. And the trick is to stay with it and not quit.
So you were walking, like, where? Like, what did that look like? You were walking?
Just walking. I would run a little bit.
Did you advance to some other things?
Oh yeah,
What did you do?
I finally decided to enter into a 5K race as a walker in Uniontown. I was still real heavy. I didn't look good or anything. And from the minute I crossed the finish line, I was instantly hooked. So I was like, oh, this is something I really like to do. And the thing with the running is there are so many benefits to it, more than just the physical benefits. For me, and a lot of people, it's really like a freedom, like, for your mind when you're just out away from the world. And I started with the 5Ks, barely being able to run, and I did 5Ks and a couple 10Ks for a whole year, and I'm like, this is getting old. I need to do something different. So I started to train for a half marathon. Now that's a big jump from 3 miles to 13. And I ran a couple half marathons, and I'm like, I want to run the Pittsburgh Marathon. Never ran, didn't even run a half marathon yet. And I'm like, oh, I want to do double that. So I set my mind on it, and through my faith and praying, talking to God and stuff like that, he helped me through it. I built training and endurance for it, and I ran the Pittsburgh Marathon this past year.
And what did that look like for you? What did it feel like for you? Like, how many miles? That's
26.2.
That's a lot.
It is.
Okay. So when you're a runner, is it just a matter of, like, once you can run 12 or 13, you might as well run another 12 or 13? Or is it not that simple? I mean, it certainly doesn't seem like it should be.
It's a mix of different things. For me, and a lot of people, it's a mental thing. You have to tell yourself to keep going. But you also have to put the work in, because not everybody's meant to just go out and decide they're going to run 26 miles.
Did you have to train for that?
Oh, yes.
Yes, okay.
And it's a lot of training.
Okay. And as you were going through the Pittsburgh Marathon, paint a scene of any memorable moments in that marathon?
So I was probably 3/4 of the way through the marathon, roughly around mile 19 or so. And I seen these people walking with jackets on. It said, like, Pittsburgh Mayor's office. I'm like, oh, these are somebody important. Little did I know that one of the people that had a jacket on was Mayor Gainey of the city of Pittsburgh. And I got to have a conversation with him.
That's nice. Yeah. You never know who you're going to meet in the middle of a marathon.
Absolutely.
You never know.
And the support is incredible. Just like the neighborhood you go through, they're all there to support you. It's a wonderful experience.
You have people cheering you on. It's like the Johnny Woodruff here in Connellsville.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have yet to run the Woodruff because it always falls on a Wednesday, and I always end up having to work.
Oh, okay. Hopefully it'll work out.
Hopefully. I've ran the course, but
Yes.
just not the race.
Yes, it's an awesome race too. It is. The people are cheering you the whole way too, giving you water, that sort of thing. They were giving you water on
Yes.
the marathon, of course. Okay, so how much weight did you lose?
At my lowest, which was about a little over a year and a couple months, I was at 179 pounds. So I had lost 101 pounds.
Wow.
In a little over a year.
Wow. Wow.
But then I started getting into wanting to train for ultra marathons and trail running, which uses a whole bunch of different muscles. So as you're training for an ultra marathon, you start building more muscle, and naturally your muscle's heavier than fat. So I actually gained weight, but I run better and I feel healthier.
That's what's important.
Yes.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, good for you. That's amazing. That's all good stuff. And I know that, so you do the Polar Plunge, the Connellsville Polar Plunge
Yes.
on January 1st every year. And I used to be be in a mindset where I thought there were two camps of people, those who got it and those who didn't, in terms of going down there and jumping in the river when it's freezing cold on January 1st. But I have to tell you, when I went there with 2 coats on, I didn't jump, I was just there. I got it because I got the atmosphere. There's so many people, everybody's having fun, everybody's happy. I saw a couple with some crazy hats on, the music's playing, you know, although there's, you know, but it's freezing. And it started to snow this past year.
Yes, it did.
And you know, you see river rescue, but you see people just ready to go and happy to jump in and to start over, just to get that freezing cold water. Why do you do it?
Pretty much all the reasons you just said. It's a fresh start to a new year. It's crazy. Like who wants to go jump in an ice cold river on January 1st?
Yeah, what made you want to do it in the first place?
Years ago when I used to watch the news and I would see them doing it in Pittsburgh, I'm like, that looks really cool. I want to do that. And then I found out that Connellsville had one. Well, Connellsville's a lot closer and you didn't have to go deal with the traffic of Pittsburgh.
Right.
So I came down. This is my 5th time in a row, by the way, this year. And I came down here. I didn't know what I was doing. I was dressed just like you were, had a coat and everything on. And at first I thought it was awful. I'm like, that water's going to feel a whole lot worse than this. But surprisingly, when you get in the water, it's not as bad as what you would think. Now, getting out's a different story. But it gives you an energy lifting that no amount of coffee or anything I've ever had can provide. And it gives you excitement for a new year, for the upcoming year.
It's a great way to start. Not that I'm going to sign up to do it, but it's a great way. I get it. I get it. I definitely get it. Oh, thanks for sharing that. And, you know, and that whole atmosphere, and it benefits Connellsville Community Ministries. You bring a canned good, so you have that. You have the music. You have the camaraderie, the people. I get it, and I'm glad that you could share that with us. So thank you.
No, you're very welcome.
And then there's volunteering. I know that's really important to you. Where do you volunteer? What do you do?
So I volunteer all over the place. I do a lot in the city of Connellsville. I'm actually a DJ on the side. I do it for fun, more or less. I'm really cheap just because I like to do it for fun.
What's your DJ? Is it just your name, Joshua Nichelson?
No, it is J Squared Sound Production.
J Squared. Do you spell it out? Spell it.
So it's J Squared.
Okay.
And the J Squared is half me and half my son.
Oh, nice.
Because he also runs the DJ equipment.
Nice. Very good. So you do events, local events?
Yes. So through my son going to Brooks Block Party, Brooke Deason is involved in the Chamber of Commerce. And she does all these wonderful events. And she had asked me, I forget which, I think the first one was actually Christmas in a Park the year before. She said, hey, would you want to play music down here? I'm sure. Come down. And she's asked me to come to the farmers markets and everything, and I do it out of the goodness of my heart.
That's nice. So you volunteer your services.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
I don't charge the Chamber of Commerce, the city, or anybody anything.
That's awesome.
But I also, there's an organization that I got involved with through running. It's called Live for Tomorrow. And what it does is brings awareness to people who are going through overdoses and alcohol problems and also suicide. And that really hit me because of what I went through in my life. And a lot of people might just turn the other cheek whenever they think about somebody that wants to commit suicide or something, or overdoses. And when you experience like it for yourself, it has a whole different meaning to you. And whenever you see what other people are going through, it changes your heart.
Right.
So I help a lot with that organization, and I'm hoping to volunteer on the rec board here in the city. I also do a lot of volunteer work in the city of Uniontown, which Mayor Bill Gerke's a good friend of mine, as well as several of the county commissioners. Just anywhere anybody needs a helping hand, I'm always willing to.
You were at the Connellsville City Church turkey dinner, the
Yes.
Thanksgiving dinner too.
Where I actually met you
That's
at.
right, that's where I met you. You were wearing a Polar Plunge shirt, and I'm like, I gotta find out, why do you do that? And then you shared a bit of your story, and I knew we needed to talk to you a little bit more. Yeah. And you did that with your son.
Yes.
Yes.
So last year, we just started by donating 2 turkeys, because that is the same day that the turkey trot in Uniontown's happens on for the Salvation Army.
And that's the run.
Yes. And this year came around, and I was like, not only am I going to donate turkeys, I want to go down and help this year. And I had a lot of friends that were like, you're not going to run the turkey trot this year. I was like,
You
no.
gave up the turkey trot to do that.
I gave up the turkey trot.
Nice. Yeah.
For me, I would rather see other people happy than myself. And that's just goes back to my faith too. Most Christians always put their needs and everything aside for others. And it's always been a joy for me to help other people.
You make me think of a song that we used to sing when I was a child, and I know that it's sung in churches everywhere. They'll know we are Christians by our love. So that's exactly what you do. So that's awesome. What's been the biggest life lesson you've had, and who taught it to you?
Everything's always come from my mom. She's been the greatest teacher. Other than what I've learned from the Lord, my mom has always been the greatest influence on my life. I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today if it wouldn't have been for her. She was, I definitely got my good heart from her. And as far as life lessons is, if you're experiencing what I experienced, go down the same path. Talk to the Lord. Don't give up hope. Reach out to me. There's always somebody that's caring. I'm known for telling people that I love them. I'm not ashamed of it. And it's just because I'm there for people that need it.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And this transformation will be the last question. I think that we should probably meet your son. I'd like to be able to meet Joshua's son, and talk about the transformation in his life and how that's brought them closer together. So let's go meet Joshua. All right, so we have Joshua with us. He's a 3rd grader at St. John's in Uniontown. We're glad that you're here, joining you with your dad. So Joshua, tell me, like, through this transformation, how did your relationship with your son grow? You came from a different place, and here you are now, doing things together. Share.
So whenever his mom left us, it was me and him. And it's been me and him for how long, bud? 5 years, 6 years now. It's been me and him every day. We, when I'm not working or running, he's always with me. I don't ask for a babysitter, and I'm lost whenever I don't have him. But he is that much of an important part of my life.
That's awesome. You volunteer together, you do things together, he's your best friend.
Yep, he is my best friend.
That's a pretty big blessing to have in life, to have a dad so close to you. So, well, thanks so much for sharing. It's so good to meet you, Joshua. Thank you for sharing your story with us, your inspiration. I know it's going to make a difference in people's lives just hearing about it.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. It seems like the polar bear plunge that Josh takes every year is a metaphor for his life. When it was uncomfortable, he kept putting himself out there, praying, and never giving up. If you're going through a difficult time, hold on. Hold on to faith, hold on to hope, and hold on to the knowledge that the mindset you choose can also lead to your breakthrough. Thanks so much for being with us.